let's talk about a team that is going through a massive transition once again. We'll go up to Boulder, Colorado, and talk about Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. They had a high watermark last year, 9-4, 7-2 in league play. But pretty much all of the pieces that made that possible are gone. Of course, the Sanders brothers, the Heisman Trophy winner, just little pieces, right? Just little things that they're going to have to replace. The story of this team this year is really interesting. It starts with the quarterback position. Who's going to replace Shedeur Sanders? In my mind, until I started doing research for this show, I was just assuming that they brought Caden Salter in to be the starter. And then I opened up my Phil Steele magazine and I see true freshman Julian Lewis listed as the primary option. So it seems like it is going to be a battle between those two. And obviously Salter is the veteran. We've seen what he can do at Liberty. And Julian Lewis is the talented but complete unknown true freshman 5-star.
Yeah, so first let me start with the offensive line, because that was the story for Colorado the last 2 years, right? And even with Shedeur back there, who objectively was a good quarterback for Colorado, right? I mean, as much as the jokes wrote themselves about Shedeur, mostly for his off-the-field antics, he was extremely accurate with the football and made a lot of big-time plays that kept them in games, right? I mean, Baylor is probably playing for a Big 12 championship had Colorado not completed that Hail Mary and then beaten Baylor in overtime at home. There were just plays that Shedeur made that gave Colorado a chance to be right there in the thick of it down the stretch themselves and compete for a Big 12 championship. So you're replacing, 75%, I think 74 maybe to be precise, percent completion when it comes to the quarterback. And I think whoever does win that battle, Salter or Juju Lewis, the offensive line is going to be a big part in how they protect him. You do return both tackles in Jordan Seaton and Phillip Houston. I do like the guards. You've got some names that you've probably heard of on the interior of that offensive line, but it has taken Colorado time to get those 5 players to gel over the last 2 years. So that's storyline number 1. Now, to the quarterback play, I think it's going to be Caden Salter that starts the season, but I'm concerned that it's not for very long. Salter at his best at Liberty was when he was able to chuck the ball downfield and get those big over-the-top plays. I think he's going to have access to that with a whole new wide receiver core at Colorado. You've got Omarion Miller comes over from Penn State. Draylon Miller is back, former blue chip recruit. And then you bring in Joseph Williams, who's a kid that I don't think most college football fans will know of. He absolutely burst onto the scene last year as a true freshman at Tulsa and transferred up to Colorado in the offseason. I think he's I want to say he's a McKinney product, something like that. North Texas kid. Actually got to call one of his games. Very fun talent. So I think the weapons for Colorado are going to be there. At the running back position, they've got maybe an approach by committee there. Micah Welch is listed as the starter in a couple of places that you might look. To be honest, I don't know a ton about what I'm going to count on from him this season. But if Salter has struggles early, and if he isn't the quarterback that led Liberty to the Fiesta Bowl, the backup quarterback is the most popular player on campus. We know this, and especially when it's a 5-star true freshman whom you flipped from USC, I do wonder how fast those calls for Lewis and a new era at quarterback, a longer era at quarterback to begin, I wonder how loud they get.
The other thing that I think is going to go against Caden Salter is just the lack of any discernible run game. You mentioned how often Shedeur was running for his life with this offensive line, but even more so, it was just it was abysmal for opening up holes for the run game. They've yet to average more than 70 yards per game on the ground. In the 2 seasons under Deion Sanders, they have not averaged more than 70 yards per game on the ground. So
and that was
that's the sacks.
That was with Dylan Edwards as RB1 in year 1. You're right, though, about the sacks.
Yeah, I mean, part of that's the sacks. They've allowed 99 sacks in those 2 years. That's going to offset a lot of your rushing numbers. But they really also haven't tried to run the ball because it hasn't been working. They've had just 222 running back attempts last year. That's really, really low when you think about it in the context of what other teams are doing around the country. They're just not able to establish the run game. So Caden Salter has not had that problem in his college career at Liberty. He's been able to have a running game to rely on. He's been able to use his legs a lot. Could be something where Juju Lewis needs to come in and provide a spark. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball, they improved greatly last year. Their defense was a laughing stock in 2023. Last year, they improved by over 100 yards a game. I'm optimistic about the D-line. I love Tavian Coleman, who's coming up from Texas State. I thought that was a fantastic transfer pickup. They're getting some guys that were kind of all conference level players in the G5 to come in and play linebacker. So trying to see if they can get up and getting some starters from G5 players, G5 programs as well in the secondary. So Colorado, I don't know is ever going to be known for defense, but they improved last year and they brought in some really nice pieces. So I don't think they're probably be far closer to 2024 than they were 2023 in my mind.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, did you mention Martavius French at
I did not. No, that's another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
UTSA linebacker that comes over. He's one of my personal favorite additions. Preston Hodge is back. I want to say he was a former Liberty transfer from 2 seasons ago. DJ McKinney, Oklahoma State transfer up to Colorado last year. He's back at cornerback. They add Makari Vickers from Oklahoma to try and replace Travis Hunter as well. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of fun pieces to like on the defensive side. One note before we get to the schedule, Amari Miller did not transfer from Penn State. That didn't sound right, and so I went and checked my note, and that's not true. He was limited to 6 or 7 games, I want to say, last year due to injury. They did get Hakeem Williams, former 5-star transfer from Florida State. So that's another new name to know in the wide receiver core. So, yeah, I mean, typical new faces, who's going to be the guy that steps up narrative on offense.
Well, let's get into that schedule. It's tricky, to put it lightly. They open with Georgia Tech at home. I think that has the potential to be a lot of points on a Friday night and opening weekend.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that game and the Baylor-Auburn game to be going on at the same time on that opening Friday night. Like, just can't ask for more than that. Then the G5 games are tricky in my mind. Delaware, I'm really high on Delaware coming up from the FCS level. I like the talent that the Blue Hens have. Obviously, Colorado will be more talented. And then Wyoming's just always a really annoying team to play. Like, they're going to ugly up that game. They're going to be really committed on the defensive side of the ball and play really sound defense and just make things really hard for you. And those kids in that part of the country want to beat the biggest school in that part of the country. So just tricky. I'm not predicting Colorado to lose to Delaware or Wyoming, but it's just trickier than it might be. Kind of similar to them playing North Dakota State last year. And I think that ended up being a game that came down to the last play on opening night. So, tricky games there. You get into the conference schedule, though. They go to Houston. That's a game I circled on Houston's schedule as a big opportunity for them when we talked about them on Monday. They have Iowa State at home. They go to Utah. That place has been really difficult for the Buffs to win in Pac-12 play. And they close the season hosting Arizona State and going to Manhattan in back-to-back weeks. It's just a brutal schedule that doesn't really leave a lot of time to work out kinks, especially if you factor in that there might be a quarterback change coming at some point.
Yeah, and I think the ceiling for Colorado, and it's a 6.5 over under, which I'll be honest feels a little high to me. I'm not entirely sure why Colorado is getting the benefit of the doubt from the bettors to get it up to 6.5. Now on your graphic, the under bettors have that money right now quite comfortably. I think 6-6 and going to the Rate Bowl or the Independence Bowl would be a fine season, to be quite honest. And that may come off as Colorado slander to some. Apologies if that's the way you take it, but it's an objectively difficult schedule. And if you're talking about you have to beat Houston, you have to find a way to beat BYU at home. You probably need to pick off Arizona at home. And then, Morgantown, we don't really know what to expect in year one at West Virginia. But
that's crossing 2 time zones.
That's a long road trip and, normally a difficult place to play. So the deck, I feel like, is stacked against Colorado. And again, especially if the calls for QB2 start to grow louder. I wonder at what point Dion and company go, okay, let's see what the kid has. Let's see what the ceiling is under Juju, and let's figure out what we have for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the schedule, anytime there's 4 should wins, like you're starting with just 4, I think should wins. That's going to make it hard to get to 6. I mean, it's hard to pick them on the road. It's hard to pick them without knowing who the quarterback is going to be and how consistent that's going to be. So, yeah, 6-6 is not slander. I think 6-6 would be a really solid step forward in a year with this much transition. Colorado fans, I know you're passionate about your team. Bandwagon Colorado fans, I know you're even more passionate about your team. So, yeah, just settle down and know that there's going to be a lot of potential for the future, especially if they can get some of these younger guys up and running and you see promise for those future years.
Do you think that the bandwagon for Colorado shrinks noticeably this year with Travis Hunter gone and the brothers Sanders out?
I mean, there is some of that mystique with it being a family affair. Like, I do think that was part of it, but most of it's coming from Prime, right? Yeah. Like, most of that's coming from Dion himself, I think. Sure. I think the players will change, but I think the true bandwagon that you see building is because of how boisterous Prime is and the people that are just really attracted to that mindset that he has. It's infectious personality. It's a really fun personality to follow, and I think that people will like that regardless of who's on the field.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.